So first off, thank you ladies all for joining us. First off, let's say thank you to Michelle. What a wonderful workout, right? Like this, right? But some things that Michelle said earlier that are so true and going to kind of feed into what we talk about today is that this is not optional, okay? In the transition phase, in our best half of life, our second half of life, however we want to say this, lifting weights is not optional. It isn't gold, it's platinum, right? Because what does your muscle do? Your muscle is going to make it so that you can, at 100 years old, be in this space, okay? You may not be doing this, but you'll be carrying your groceries. What is this movement? You're gonna get off your toilet seat. You're gonna get in and out of your car, right? It's functional movement and we have to have it. So one thing we're gonna talk about today is testosterone, because females don't talk about this a lot, right? Because we hear things like, oh, it's for men, right? Testosterone's for men. It's a male hormone. Or you think the other way, right? When I'm sure Michelle hears a lot of this, it's like, oh man, I'm going to be like this bodybuilder and have this deep voice and these, workout girls I see. No, that's not true. In the female body, we have 4 times more testosterone than we do estrogen, okay? And testosterone has 250 plus roles in the female body. So testosterone is very important for what I say, the normal everyday female. And interestingly enough, testosterone starts to decline in our late 20s and into our 30s, right? We peak as women in our early 20s with high testosterone. And then testosterone takes a deep decline. So by the time we're in our 40s and 50s, our testosterone has already took a plummet dive, right? And so people don't know what that looks like. So what does it look like? It looks like fatigue, right? It looks like not making, if you are a gym goer or someone that works out, not making those changes or those PRs, or that's what we'll hear a lot from women who work out a lot. They're like, man, I used to be able to get to that goal. I can't get to that goal. How about cognitive function, right? So just like, oh, we know brain fog, right? Brain fog is multifactorial. It's estrogen, but it's also testosterone. So it's very important, and we're going to hit kind of the important parts of what it does, and we're going to start with the brain. Nobody thinks testosterone. When I say testosterone, do you think the brain? You think muscle? You think sex, right? But do you think the brain? Testosterone is literally your executive functioning. If you think about the last person that you heard walk into a room, give a lecture or whatever, they were on point, they were crystal clear, their message was coming solid, you were like, oh my gosh, right? That's testosterone. Testosterone is the CEO, the executive functioning, motivation, focus, drive, right? That plays a role in our brain. And hold this for a thought. Remember when we say testosterone and libido? Well, libido is a mood, okay? Libido comes from the brain, right? Testosterone increases dopamine in our brain, right? And that dopamine, what does that do? It's exciting, it's rewarding, right? When you want those dopamine spaces, those dopamine centers. So sometimes when women have low testosterone, not only does your cognitive function kind of slip, but they could have depression symptoms, right? Because you're not getting as much dopamine. Things I hear women say when we give them back testosterone, this is a really good example. You know, in Wizard of Oz, when everything is black and white and then it goes to Technicolor, it's not even real color, right? It's Technicolor. That's the kind of things that they say, right? Like, my world just like got bright again. Right? Or someone said, that German that I learned when I was 8 and was like fluent in it, it came back all of a sudden. Like my German was back. I remember things about kindergarten and first grade that I haven't remembered in years. It gives us that sharp focus that we're missing, okay? When it declines in the brain. Then let's talk about muscle, right? And what it does for muscle and metabolism, because we're here talking about muscle. So muscle, again, muscle is platinum. You cannot age without muscle, or you'll be the old lady in your work with broken hips, demented, falling out of wheelchairs, all of these things. And testosterone plays a huge role in muscle. So it helps in protein synthesis. So just like we're talking about muscle building up and muscle repairing, right? So you need an adequate level of testosterone to do that, right? Protein synthesis. Then it increases your basal metabolic rate. Do you know what that means? That means when you're sitting at your desk, you're burning calories. What also increases basal metabolic rate? The more muscle mass you have, right? That's why we don't want as much body fat. We want muscle mass. So here's the other thing that's awesome about testosterone, and really This is equals to longevity, which is there is no one thing that works in isolation, right? If you come to the gym and you work out all the time and you eat like crap, you eat processed foods, you don't optimize your health, and in this transition of life, you don't optimize your hormones, your gains are going to be this much, right? Or you're going to stay status quo. So the hormones are a piece of the puzzle to longevity, but you have to make them work. So when I'm standing here or I'm going out to lunch, I want my muscles to be working for me, right? I want calories to be burned. I want those things. Then it also, so inherently with that, it increases your metabolism, right? And there is testosterone receptors in joint spaces, right? So we talk about joint stiffness and pain. It helps crystallize kind of all of those things up and makes the muscles fire. Why do people take testosterone to work out, right? Those are the reasons why. Then let's go to an even bigger issue, which is metabolism. So what does it do for your metabolism? Why are 96% of Americans unhealthy? Why? What do they have? Metabolic dysfunction, right? Truncal abdominal weight, metabolic dysfunction. Adequate levels of testosterone in the female body help regulate cortisol, right? Testosterone and cortisol, they can counteract each other. We already know that as you become estrogen deficient, your cortisol goes up innately, right? Because that's the system that works. So having testosterone, and remember, we're losing testosterone before we're ever losing estrogen, right? So if we're losing testosterone in our 30s, then cortisol goes up. What else does testosterone do for the metabolic system? It helps with glucose sensitivity, right? It helps with glucose regulation, so we're not getting as many glucose spikes during the day. Our glycemic load goes down, right? And we're not producing so much metabolic oxidative stress on the body because we have some testosterone to balance that out. Now think of that as a whole. If we're doing that, right, if we have testosterone, it's around, it's helping us with cortisol, it's balancing all of this. We're working out, we're building muscle, right? What else is that doing? Helping us with cortisol, helping us with our metabolic stress. Oh, wait, and then we're eating clean, right? And we're eating protein and we're drinking water. That equals longevity. Any one of those pieces by itself doesn't work, right? Well, so they all have to kind of fit in together. And then last but not least, but definitely very important, and as women, we don't talk about it because of a society we live in, but that is sexual health. Sexual health is so important. Testosterone does that, right? We know that. That's what it's known for, right? Increasing sex drive and libido and all these things. Yes, it is, but more important than that, you need it for vaginal health. Just as the vagina has receptors for estrogen, and it's testosterone receptors, right? So less urinary tract infections. Oh, Michelle said something really good about your core, which if anybody's heard me talk, these ladies already know how important your core is to your overall health as a female. But what does the pelvic muscles do, right? She says your extension of your core. We already talked about the pelvis and the pelvis being a core stabilizer too. But the pelvic muscles have estrogen receptors, yes. But they have testosterone receptors also, right? Not only that, but then all of the testosterone receptors in the vagina, guess what else they do? We get the perks of that when we talk about sexual health. So guess what? We can have better orgasms, right? And we have better sexual health. Yes, can we increase drive, right? So testosterone plays a very delicate role in the female body, but one that's very important, okay? And guess what? We don't need crazy amounts of testosterone, right? It's scary because it's not talked about enough, right? It's like, again, people think, oh my God, that's just for guys, or I don't want to get hit, hairs on my chin, and I don't want my voice to deepen, right? So testosterone replaced physiologically and done right is so important for the overall health of our body as a females, all right? Does anyone have questions about testosterone? It does not. It is the icing on the cake. So when I talk about stacking hormones, we say estrogen is the ice cream, progesterone is the cone, and testosterone is the goodies you put on top. Sprinkles, chocolate, Heath bar, whatever your thing is, testosterone actually is what brings that all home, honestly. So if you're on HRT or just HT, hormone therapy versus hormone replacement, depending on where you are, testosterone is that piece that's just that icing on top. So now, if you're already on estrogen, sometimes if we're talking about like perimenopausal women that are early on, sometimes we just place the testosterone only, right? Because they're not estrogen deficient yet. But as part of a complete package for HRT, testosterone is usually the little bit of icing on top. And sometimes, it's a good point, sometimes women respond really well to testosterone right away. Like they'll take it and then in 2 weeks they'll be like, oh my gosh, you know, woo, everything's in color. Sometimes it's 4 to 5 months. And we don't really know that mechanism quite yet of like who's kind of the late responders, but some will be like, I mean, I guess, you know, it's not great. And then one day they wake up and they're like, oh, I think that must have kicked in, right? And just because this is not an overnight thing, the body has to physiologically get. Also, I don't know how long you've been without it, right? So like say you were someone that your testosterone started to decline when you were 28 and now you're 50 and you're replacing it, that's slow and steady, right? Like, so maybe those, if I had the data from all those people, I might be able to give a better answer of like, say, oh, well, you're gonna take 6 months, right? Or like, you're gonna be 2 days, right? Like, you're gonna be on it and you're gonna be 2 days. So it goes hand in hand. Hormone replacement should be all 3 of the hormones. If you're low, which most women are, by the way. Ideal testosterone for a woman is 70, okay? And most women that I see test anywhere between 15 and 6. One person was 2. Like, come here, sister, I gotta give this back to you, right? One person was 2. So important piece of the puzzle. What else?
I find it interesting that we don't learn about any of this growing up. It's our own bodies.
Well, that's why we're changing this, right? This is the reason why we're doing this and telling and educating everyone's for us too, because the baby boomers should be mad they missed out, right? They're screwed. And this sucks. They're all in nursing homes with broken hips and UTI, all in dementia, which is all preventable, right? With hormone therapy and health optimization, right? Lifestyle, we talked about it. It's not, hormone therapy is one piece of the longevity puzzle. It's not the only piece. We got to do the other things. But we already know that women have 4 times more dementia than men. Why? Because men don't lose estrogen, right? Men don't lose testosterone. They don't. They lose it over time slowly. Not us. We're like, bye-bye testosterone, and then screw off the estrogen, and there we are, right? So we know that. So, and our generations are demanding better, right? Because they're seeing their parents in this, and they're like, we're not gonna play that game. But most importantly, we're doing this so that our daughters and our granddaughters and their kids don't have to suffer, right? The goal would be that it becomes a point where health optimization, think biohacking, whatever the heck you want to call it, but it's where, if we know the benefits of estrogen, why would we ever let ourselves not be with estrogen, right? Like we want to get this to the point where it's like, oh, you're 40? Okay, here you go. Here's your estrogen, here's your vaginal estrogen, here's your testosterone. And this is longevity. Talk about any longevity hack. I mean, you see my tongue is blue, methylene blue, all the things we do for mitochondrial health. It's proven that women on estrogen therapy live 4 years longer. That's talk about longevity, but what's more important to me, yeah, but that exactly, you put it right. The most important piece of that puzzle is not the length of life. It's the quality of the life. Because women, we already know, live longer than men. But right now, statistically, those last 5 years women live are in crappy, crappy health, okay? I don't want that. If I'm gonna live I would rather die at 85 than live to 95 if I'm gonna be miserable and in a nursing home. No, in bed bound, yeah, no. But that's why all of this is important, right? You have to lift the weights, it's a non-negotiable. You have to eat the protein, whether you want to or not. And we come, like some of us come from a day and age where caloric deficit was in, right? Eat less calories, eat less, eat less. No, that is horrible for the female body. How many times do you guys hear me say that? Are you eating enough protein? Because if you're not eating enough, you're starving yourself from a female body perspective. And your body's just holding on to fat. You're increasing cortisol, you're worsening your metabolic health. But that was, it was all about be the skinny as you can be and unhealthy, and we call this what? Skinny fat, right? And nobody in the world wants to be skinny fat.
So think of it this way: you have to feed your living tissue. That's your muscle, your organs, all of that. If you don't feed it, you lose it. Muscle burns fat, so you got to feed the muscle. So it's backwards thinking. The more you eat the right kinds of foods,
Yes.
the more lean you're going to be, and then you become a fat burning machine.
When you're just sitting there.
Ice cream, and it's not going to affect
Yeah.
once in a while, but
Yeah. And like she said, we again, lean muscle mass increasing that basal metabolic rate of your metabolism, right? So the more muscle you have, then you optimize your hormones, right? And you are now a lean, mean, muscle making machine, calorie burning machine. So, and happy because you have dopamine. And happy because you have dopamine, and you exercise because you have dopamine, and now you have estrogen, so now you have more serotonin in your brain, right? And you have progesterone, and you're sleeping at night. Oh my gosh, look at how this all comes together.